Whether you studied Latin at school or are just a fan of interesting phrases, you might know the old Latin proverb, "The early bird gets the worm," or something similar. Most Russians probably studied it at school, and a lucky few Russians put it into practice. Here are some of the most interesting finds a lucky few treasure hunters discovered just by peeking in the ground. Our first story is from Ugol-Gorski region on the island of Sakhalin. Ever heard of it? It is one of Russia's most eastern points and also stands as its largest island. Local authorities treasure the environment so much that they pay their residents for finding any recyclable materials, from ferrous to non-ferrous metal scrap. And trust us, there's plenty of it left over from Soviet times. There used to be plants, water towers, and coal mines on the island. Local inhabitants take advantage of the situation, of course. Who would refuse extra income that can be earned simply by walking along a riverbank? However, when going for a walk along Medny, Copper Creek for the first time, a lucky treasure hunter could hardly imagine his luck. He found himself in a kind of contemporary El Dorado. The area looks like an ancient encampment of electricians and bears obvious traces of the Soviet industry. However, according to this island resident, few people apart from him actually visit the place. Within the first minutes of his search, he found a large amount of copper cables. The farther he went into the forest, the greater his armfuls of coiled copper wires became. Eventually, our guy filled his backpack, loaded himself with cables all over, and within 4 hours, he was carrying his loot home to weigh it. Some commenters on the video go nostalgic, recalling the times that followed the collapse of the Soviet Union, while others are ironic and draw parallels to searching scrap heaps. In any case, the result of the walk has become a perfect response to all skeptics. You can get $4 to $6 for a kilogram of copper in the region, or even more in other areas. If we multiply that by the 30 kilograms of copper he found, we get an amount which is quite sizable. Of course, you might say that copper is dull, cheap stuff, not elegant at all. Okay, so what about gold then? Do you think the times of Klondike are far behind in the 19th century? That may be. However, all you need to do is understand the formation of these precious metals and believe in your luck, and discoveries are sure to follow. You won't even have to drill. To start with, just look at the waters of a river. If you see them glimmering in the sun in a special way, your eyes probably aren't lying to you. There are over 300 gold-bearing rivers in this area. This opportunity to earn some money mesmerized numerous residents of the almighty region of Kazakhstan, a former Soviet Union republic. One lucky treasure hunter, known as Maximov Ro on YouTube, does not care much that this activity is illegal, and he's not afraid of meeting other enthusiasts. The criminal situation is known to get worse in areas where gold is panned out. All this does not prevent Roman from panning out kilograms of gold and boasting of larger and larger nuggets each time. Walking along rivers and deserted mines will certainly pay off. You can get as much as $1,777 for an ounce now. Not bad, is it? On the subject of gold, the precious mineral brings us to our next story. Initially, this resident of a Russian village just had a YouTube channel called In Search of Gold Nuggets. That alone is fascinating enough. But that's not what his most popular video is about. Instead, it deals with a strange, viscous liquid he found. Black in color, stiff in consistency, and a smell like that of diesel oil. What else can it be but oil? This guy carefully poured the liquid into a plastic bottle, and then considered for a great many hours at home just how could he test and prove his theory of striking oil. He was able to think of one method only. If it is oil, it can be turned to gasoline. This lucky man seems to also be a jack of all trades, as he found a hooch still for that purpose in his belongings. You may snicker at it, but an hour later, the gasoline he had produced was successfully tested in an orchard cultivator. Okay, it is really oil, but now what? YouTube subscribers commenting on his video advised the man not to advertise his discovery and generally to stop playing to the audience. That's reasonable advice, because in Russia, you can use about 3 centimeters of soil to plant, say, some radish. That much belongs to you. However, all the rest is owned by the state. So if someone happens to discover oil, an oil mining license will be granted to a third party, and not the finder. The man in the video is fully aware of that, so he carefully conceals his face and takes only close-ups of the place where his oil is mined. However, this does not prevent him from cherishing an ambitious dream of having a gas station of his own. In the near future, he is going to test the homemade gasoline in his car. We'll see if he can do that. Meanwhile, you'd better watch your step if you happen to be in Russia. You might have a bit of luck too.